Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. State government ministers have been confronted by Westbury residents during a surprise visit to the area. They were trying to sell the benefits of a new prison proposal, but some locals were angry about what they described as skewed telephone polling.
Out and about in Westbury. Okay, we're going this way? But the greetings weren't well received.
You've got a prison there, not much else comes there. They basically say, oh, you're a prison town, and that's how we're going to stop it.
Hopefully it's true consultation and not the Clayton's consultation that we've been receiving.
Absolutely not.
Corrections Minister Elise Archer and her Liberal colleagues walked the streets of Westbury speaking with residents and business owners about the proposed prison site 2 kilometres from the town. The visit comes less than 24 hours after a phone survey was rolled out.
It's not the same company, it was a different company.
I have no idea.
I think that's true.
We understand that last night there was polling undertaken where they were pushing questions on those residents saying that if they supported jobs, they'd support the project. That's not a fair poll.
Local residents like Carol FIRTH received the call last night.
I was annoyed because it was trying to get you to agree to what and give them the answer that they wanted.
I think the whole thing was appalling, really, really bad.
The Premier says the state government is not directly behind it, but concedes his party is.
That's something that's been done by the Liberal Party and as has been demanded of us by the opposition to consult with communities, we're doing that.
We're not being listened to, we're not being heard properly.
The Premier is standing by his decision not to reveal the other shortlisted sites.
We've said very clearly that we'll follow good process, appropriate process, and that's not to release other sites. Of course, the Labor Party would love to go around and scare even more communities. That's what they're about.
The only way to remedy this is to walk away from Westbury as a site. It doesn't have a consensus support from that community, and start the process again and do it properly.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
A man has tragically died after an apparent electrocution near Winkley this morning. It's believed the man, aged in his 50s, was cutting down a tree when it landed on a power line. Police say he came into contact with the power line as he tried to clear it. A report will be prepared for the coroner. A luxury cruise to Tasmania ended in tragedy for a Canadian couple. The coroner has just released findings into a death on board the Silver Whisper. While docked in Burnie in February last year, a man found his 67-year-old wife unconscious on the floor of their cabin. Resuscitation efforts were unsuccessful. The coroner found the death wasn't suspicious and was caused by a toxic mix of prescription drugs and alcohol. More than 2,000 TASWATER customers are awaiting results of urgent water testing to find the source of contamination of their supply. Authorities are assuring the community there are no major concerns, but some locals are worried about effects to health.
Tests underway in Lauderdale today after a sample from the local reservoir revealed traces of E. coli yesterday. Residents in nearby suburbs were placed on a boil water alert, with TASWATER employees now trying to flush out the bacteria.
This was identified yesterday and the boil water alert was declared. We're now working through the system, increasing chlorination, doing inspections, looking for sources of contamination and retesting the water.
Residents of Lauderdale, Acton Park, 7 Mile Beach and Roaches Beach are being urged to boil water for consumption or food preparation until the problem is solved.
We first of all went to childcare centres, aged care, and the school, and we provided them with an alternate water supply as a matter of course, and then we got the alert out and we notified everybody through SMS, through letterbox drops.
Recommended to us how to the boiling water to using how temperature it should be.
Both my wife and I have had a twinge of a bit of gastritis and we didn't really relate it to the water at that stage, but now in hindsight.
The government is backing TASWATER's reaction to the contamination.
It is unfortunate that it's occurred, but we have full confidence in TASWATER to understand where this, the issue of E. coli has come from and importantly remedy the situation as quickly as possible.
TASWATER say they're undertaking an extensive testing process to ensure the best result for the community.
That's why we estimate it will be in the next couple of days that we'll be able to give residents that relief and tell them that their water is safe to drink again.
Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
Efforts to find an 85-year-old Westbury man missing since Monday have proved fruitless so far. With no fresh leads, police are now appealing for the public's help to find retired Dr. Jeffrey Trezise.
It's been more than 2.5 days since 85-year-old Jeffrey Trezise was last seen, but since then, nothing.
It's a very big gap. We haven't had any new confirmed sightings since that time.
It's understood the retired doctor left his Westbury home without a trace on Monday morning in his 2001 silver Alfa Romeo.
This is completely out of character. Mr. Trezise is a well-known, well-liked member of the community. There is a lot of community concern around his disappearance.
Authorities have been unable to locate him in ground searches around the local area and will be expanding its operations in the coming days. Locals did not wish to speak on camera, but have told us the 85-year-old is a lovely man, an incredible doctor and a big part of the Westbury community. With rescue efforts poised to enter a third day, police say Mr. Trezise's vehicle is the key to locating him and are urging for the public's help.
The eyes and ears of the public are perhaps our greatest asset at the moment.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
One of our tourism hotspots is tonight facing its own potential emergency crisis. An underwater electricity cable connection to Bruny Island has failed, and TASNETWORKS is scrambling to shore up the island's supply before the peak of the tourism season.
Beneath this channel sits one of 2 electricity cables linking Bruny Island to mainland Tasmania. Spanning from Tinderbox to Dens Point, it's an important addition to the island's energy security. But on Sunday, that connection broke down.
This particular cable isn't the primary supply to Bruny Island, but obviously when we do have storms and power outages, it gives us an alternate supply to ensure that we get the power on reasonably quickly, so improves reliability for those customers.
The main cable is unaffected, but backup diesel generators at Ilona are in place. While experts say there's no need for concern, they don't yet know what caused the outage.
We'll have to put some divers down there and just ascertain what the damage looks like. It's quite old cable, so we'll look at our options of whether we can repair that and get that back up quickly, or whether there's other options like potentially replacing the cable.
TASNETWORKS says it has around 600 permanent customers on Bruny Island, but with the busy summer tourism season approaching, that number is expected to rise, increasing electricity demand.
There's a huge impact, particularly over summer, if we lose all power to Bruny Island. That's why I think the backup generation is really important, but it's also important for emergency management.
It's unknown just how long it will take to get the cable back up and running. Michelle WISBEY, 7 Tasmania News.
New developments could be on the horizon at the iconic Cradle Mountain, with the state government renewing its search for private investors. It currently owns a 13-hectare parcel of land just outside the national park and is looking for someone to build on it. After a first short-term expressions of interest process failed to bring forward a winning idea, the government's changed plans, now looking for a more permanent development.
Expressions of interest to now look at longer-term leases, but also a freehold option, and will allow the market to come forward and bring forward their ideas.
The Treasurer is expecting the proposals to include new accommodation on the popular site for both staff and visitors. Most of us have amassed bits and pieces at home over the years, but imagine having to count and catalogue every single item. Well, that's exactly what museum staff are doing in Launceston, only on a massive scale.
From portraits to peacocks or whale bones to baboons, this is just a fraction of the 1.5 million strong collection inside Launceston's Museum and Art Gallery. So imagine trying to catalogue it all.
Oh my goodness, this is the start of a whole new way of working for the museum.
The idea is to list everything online for the public to see. These local orchids from 1837 are among forgotten items being rediscovered.
And particularly some incredibly unique items relating to our fantastic Chinese history, so we're so excited about that.
So far they've counted through 500 artefacts, with an astonishing number of plant and animal specimens to go.
Our best estimate is that we may have between 400 and 600,000 objects, but only about 100,000 of those are currently registered into our database.
Even if they do fly through the work, I'm told that staff here could take as long as 5 years to catalogue the extensive archives. Still, that's a short amount of time compared to the museum's 130-year history. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
There's a push to overhaul Tasmanian rules banning greyhounds from going off-leash in areas other dogs are free to roam. The regulations are in place for former racing animals, but owners say it's not fair.
Rescued greyhound Spock spent the first few years of his life as a part of the racing industry here in Tasmania. Now retired and successfully rehabilitated, he enjoys a life of leisure, but that doesn't include the same privileges as other breeds of dog.
It just so happens that these ones have come out of the greyhound racing industry. And as a dog, and as a dog that can run fast, it's very unfair that once they exit the industry, they no longer have the opportunity to run.
Even in designated off-leash areas, greyhounds still have to stay leashed. But reforms are before Parliament to allow the relacing of those laws.
And these dogs have been through everything to make sure that they're safe. It is totally unnecessary to have them on lead all the time.
Whatever breed of dog it is, it can be off the lead. Yet a greyhound that's been through an intensive training program, and with us we certainly assess them in a pack. Off lead with small dogs has to be on a lead.
Brightside rehabilitates more than 100 greyhounds each year, surrendered from racing trainers.
They're extraordinary dogs, and they come out, you pick them up from the trainers and they come out the door and they're like, right, what's next? This is my new life, and they get into it.
Hobart City Council is considering backing the moves, while Launceston City Council has already supported changes. Ebony ABBLITT, 7 Tasmania News.
New Tasmania Devils coach Cameron Joyce believes his experience within the AFL system can help Tasmania produce more potential draftees over the coming years as the side looks to bridge the gap between the Victorian clubs following a difficult NAB League season. Joyce has spent the past decade in various roles across the AFL landscape, most recently as North Melbourne's General Manager of Football.
I've seen everything that a coach has seen over the last probably 10, 11 years, so working with Brad, Scott in particular, and more recently Rhys Shaw as well. Now it's an opportunity for me to be able to bring that out.
The Devils won just 4 games from 15 matches during their first season in the country's premier under-18 competition, but Joyce is confident the state can develop into a force to be reckoned with in the coming years.
My priority is to develop the individual players, and work with them really closely.
And with the next crop of Devils keen to carry on Tasmania's proud tradition of producing some of the AFL's most exciting young talent, Joyce is adamant he has what it takes to create an environment that will ensure that continues.
And bring the state together in terms of the 3 regions across the state, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Players for the 2020 Devils squad will begin their induction process next week. Meantime, the venue has been announced for next year's annual Relive the Rivalry charity football match, with Penguins Dial Park set to play host this time around. A string of former AFL stars have already been announced to take part in the iconic match, which is set to take place on Saturday, March 14.
Good evening. A cold front crossed the state this morning with associated cloud to the east of Flinders Island. Hobart was the state's warmest today, reaching a high of 20, 16 across Launceston and Burnie, Devonport 15. Other centres today, a high of 18 across St Helens and Ouse, 15 at both Strawn and Lowhead. Friendly Beaches reaching a high of 20 and 16 at Smithton. On the close-up shows cloud associated with a cold front to the east of Tasmania, with cloud to the west of the state. Further out, a cold front lies to the east of Tasmania with another scene to the west. Cold convective cloud lies to the west of this front and extends into the Bight and southern Western Australia coast. Tomorrow shows a low pressure centre to the south of Tasmania, extending a trough over the state, while a high to the southwest of Western Australia extends a ridge through central Australia. Westerly winds tomorrow 25 to 35 knots, lighter about the east coast. Swells up to 7 metres in the west and south and up to 3 metres in the east. A gale warning is current for most Tasmanian coastal waters from Wineglass Bay to St Helens Point for westerly winds. A strong wind warning for upper eastern coastal waters, the southwest and central plateau lakes and all southeast inshore waters. A warning to sheep graziers is current for all grazing districts, and a bushwalkers weather alert for the Central Plateau and Western forecast districts. Tomorrow's forecast now: Hobart 15, a windy 14 with showers at Cygnet and New Norfolk. A shower or two at Launceston, 15 at Devonport and Campbelltown. Windy with showers across Burnie and Smithton, Strawn 13. St Helens partly cloudy, 17 at Swansea, and a shower or two in the afternoon at Fingal. The UV forecast high 7s across the state. Looking ahead to Friday, showers about the west and south, showers about the west and south Saturday, and Sunday showers about the west and south. Capital cities looking sunny at both Sydney and Brisbane tomorrow. Adelaide showers increasing and 17 in Melbourne. And looking at current temperatures, Hobart 12, mostly cloudy, and Launceston and Devonport both 11 and cloudy. That's all in weather tonight. Back to you, Jo.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for that, Jackie. That's all from the team. Have a lovely evening and we'll see you a little later. Bye-bye.